It began on a quiet summer evening in Los Angeles. Julie Newmar, the woman who once mesmerized the world as Catwoman, was found sitting alone in her garden, her eyes tracing the fading light. A photograph taken that night, later leaked by an old acquaintance, showed her in a moment of startling vulnerability. No makeup, no costume, just Julie, the legend, now fragile yet radiant. That image, more than any of her glamorous studio portraits, told the story of a woman who lived many lives, on screen, in love, and in silence. But to understand how she reached that moment, you have to travel back to where her extraordinary story began. Her story began in Los Angeles, where she was born Julia Kaylee Newmar in 1933, to a family that valued intellect and art. Her mother, a dancer, and her father, a college professor, gave her both grace and wit, a rare combination that would later define her allure. As a child, Julie was tall, strikingly beautiful, and fiercely intelligent. But her height, over 5 feet 11 inches, made her feel like an outsider. She would later confess that she learned to walk with poise not from vanity, but from necessity, to make her difference look like confidence. Even then, she seemed to understand that beauty was both a gift and a weapon. Her early years were shaped by movement and ambition. Trained in ballet and classical dance, she joined the Los Angeles Opera Ballet when she was still in her teens. But dance, though it disciplined her body, couldn't contain her imagination. Julie wanted to be seen, not just admired. She left for New York, chasing Broadway lights with a kind of quiet fury. Rejections came in waves. Producers found her too tall, too unusual, too something. But when the musical Silk Stockings opened in 1955, her electric stage presence could no longer be ignored. She wasn't just another chorus girl. She was a spectacle. Then came Hollywood. The camera adored her, though directors often didn't know what to do with her. Was she a bombshell, a comedienne, or something in between? She played them all. And then, in 1966, came Batman. As Catwoman, she became the embodiment of seduction and danger. Her voice purred with wit, her movements were deliberate, feline, unforgettable. Behind the mask, though, was a woman fighting to be more than her image. Julie Newmar wasn't playing Catwoman, she was Catwoman. Every elegant contradiction of her character mirrored in her own life, but fame is fickle, and behind every spotlight lies shadow. Julie's beauty drew men like a magnet, yet her heart remained guarded. She married only once, to J. Holt Smith, a lawyer, in the early 1970s. The union, glamorous at first, soon crumbled under the weight of her ambitions and his expectations. From that marriage came her beloved son, John. He was born with a hearing impairment and other developmental challenges, and for Julie, motherhood became both her greatest joy and her deepest trial. In private, she dedicated herself to his care, retreating from Hollywood's chaos. Few knew the depth of her sacrifice, how many roles she turned down, how many parties she missed, because her life had shifted from fame to devotion. Yet even away from the camera, Julie never lost her spirit. Her sharp wit made her a fixture at art galleries and charity events. Friends described her as enchanting, unpredictable, sometimes aloof, always magnetic. Still, there were rumors, of affairs with powerful men, of feuds on set, of secret heartbreaks. But Julie, ever the Catwoman, never confirmed nor denied them. A lady, she once said, always leaves something to the imagination. The 1980s and 1990s were not kind to many actresses of her generation. Roles grew scarce, the public moved on, and new icons replaced the old. Julie, however, reinvented herself yet again. She turned her creative energy toward real estate, fashion, and gardening. Her home became a sanctuary, filled with sculptures, roses, and the quiet hum of a life redefined. In 1995, a surprise came, to Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything. Julie Newmar, a comedy film that used her name as a symbol of timeless glamour and self-expression. She didn't star in it, but the homage reminded the world of who she was, and always would be. There were struggles still. Health issues slowed her, and the industry's obsession with youth left her sidelined. But she never succumbed to bitterness. In interviews, she spoke with serene wisdom, her once fiery eyes now softened by age but no less compelling. Beauty, she said, is not youth. It's the soul showing through. In her later years, she continued to appear at conventions and retrospectives, delighting fans who remembered her feline grace and magnetic smile. Behind the autographs and camera flashes, there was still that quiet woman who once danced barefoot in her garden, lost in her own thoughts. And then, one afternoon, a neighbor spotted her sitting under a blooming jacaranda tree, her favorite. She seemed deep in memory, her gaze distant. That moment, immortalized in a single candid photo, showed not Catwoman or the Broadway dancer, but Julie, the artist, the mother, the survivor. The world that once adored her for her perfection now saw her humanity, and somehow, she was even more beautiful. Julie Newmar's story is not just about fame or beauty, it's about endurance. About a woman who refused to be defined by the roles she played or the men who admired her. Her legacy lives in the way she made every room feel enchanted, in the confidence she inspired in women who dared to be different, and in the grace with which she accepted the passing of time. As we look at her most private photos, we see more than a glamorous actress, we see a life fully lived, with laughter, loss, and quiet triumphs. The young girl who once felt too tall for the world grew into a woman who stood taller than any of her critics. And perhaps that's the secret she always knew, that the real magic was never in the costume, but in the woman who wore it. So the next time you see Julie Newmar's image, those sharp cheekbones, that mischievous smile, remember the story behind it. A story of elegance, resilience, and transformation. Like the cat she once portrayed, she always landed on her feet. If you felt moved by her journey, by the woman behind the legend, take a moment to honor her. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories of Hollywood's most unforgettable icons. Because behind every star, there's a story waiting to be seen.